Thank you so much for joining us for another Moving to Mexico Monday. Oops, I just knocked something over. I really appreciate it. And for those of you who might be watching on YouTube or whatever, my name is Kim Temple and I'm with Runaway Realty here in Puerto Morelos, which is just south of Cancun and north of Playa del Carmen, and a much better beach town than any of those places. And we host this kind of weekly series talking about topics that are important to people who are thinking of moving to Mexico, more specifically to Puerto Morelos. We really kind of narrow it down to that, but some of the topics are good for people who are thinking just of moving in general, including what we're going to talk about tonight, which is basically, so you've decided to move to Mexico, now what? You know, what are some things that you need to do before you make the move down here in order to ensure that it's kind of a seamless process and you have your ducks in a row. And really there's kind of quite a bit that you want to take care of before you leave. So I think this is a good topic. And we're joined tonight by Caroline Gallegos, who is my ultimate wing person for Moving to Mexico Monday. Caroline's lived in Puerto Morelos for 10 years, I think, and worked full-time as a global what do they call it? Nomad? Digital nomad, basically. Or I don't know, is that what you were? Probably not.
I was a global travel manager with American Express, right. But yeah.
Not a digital nomad, but, and has actually owns 2 homes in Puerto Morelos. And then we're also joined by Keith and Bruce, who just arrived in Puerto Morelos and purchased a year ago, no? You arrived a year ago. We didn't get the purchase done right away. Yeah. So this is fresh for them, and they can really offer us some unique insight on what it takes to move your life to another country. So thank you guys so much for joining us. We are recording this meeting, so if you're not interested in being on the video recording, just turn off your camera, which quite a few people have done actually. It's not as much fun for us, but if you want to turn off your video, that's fine. And then for this one, several people are muted. You can stay muted if you want, but you turn it on anytime if you have a question, or drop a question in the chat box, and I'll try to get back to that. So, sound good? Anyone? Anyone there?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, I'm gonna have another drink of my Nebbiolo. It's been a long day. So I think, you know, the first thing we're going to talk about is that basically whether you're relocating to Puerto Morelos, bringing your whole life here, or you're just going to come for maybe several months or more than you usually come, there are some things that you're going to want to do before you leave home. Most people are moving from the US or Canada, so I'm going to kind of stick to that, but it's probably true no matter where you're from. And the number one thing, I struggled what was really number one, but I think the number one thing is that you need to be aware that, hi Brian. You need to be aware that when you move to Puerto Morelos, and many places in Mexico, you don't have mail service. So you're going to need to get your affairs in order so that you're receiving all of your bills and notifications via email rather than snail mail. And for those things that you have to receive on snail mail, you're gonna wanna have either an address with a relative, or maybe you're keeping an address at home, I don't know. But if you're not keeping an address, you need to have an address with a relative. That's what I do. I have it at my aunt's house, or you need to get like a virtual mailbox, because people can't send you things here. They can FedEx them to you and they can DHL them to you, but they can't just put something in the mail and expect it to arrive here within any period of time that's reasonable. There's just no regular mail delivery. There's not a regular postal service, which people are really surprised by, I think. I was surprised when I got here. And if you're wondering, well, how do you get your bills in Mexico? That's simple. They just shove it through your gate. or over your wall. Somebody comes by with the paper and delivers it to you. In the last few years, things have moved more online, and so you can receive your bills online, but that is pretty new. That's probably within maybe the last 3 years. And so for that, you just waited for the guy to drop off your bill to know how much you owed for water, electricity, or internet, actually. So you'll need to set up all your accounts at home to receive your bills and statements online. You can get a virtual mailbox service where you have a physical place where mail can come. Somebody there will open it and scan it for you. You decide whether you want them to go ahead and FedEx it to you, or if it's something you can deal with without having that done. And so I have not used one of those services, but several people in town have. I don't know, are Keith and Bruce, are you guys using one?
Yes.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
awesome.
Which one do you guys have?
It's called Traveling Mailbox.
Okay.
And-
And so they open it and scan it.
They'll open it, they'll scan it, they'll throw it away, they'll shred it, they'll FedEx it to us down here, whatever we need done. If you get a check from a company or something, you can arrange, set it up where they send it directly to your bank and deposit it for you in your US bank. Really very handy service to have.
And one of the things that we have also found is if we get several things that we need sent down here, we wait and bundle them so they can send them all at the same time.
Yeah, no, that's good. So did you get an address in Georgia, or did you?
Yes, in
Oh,
Atlanta.
somewhere.
I think it's Traveling Mailbox is nationwide, and I think you can sort of pick whatever center they have that's closest to where you were living. We lived about 30 miles outside of Atlanta, so we got a mailbox in Atlanta.
And they provided that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because my tax guy suggested that I actually move my address I'm from Colorado, and for tax purposes, to not have to pay income tax in Colorado, he suggested that I actually move my mailing address to somewhere that doesn't have income taxes, which I guess would be Florida and Texas.
Kim, does Colorado make you pay state income tax on foreign earned income?
No, that's a federal thing,
Uh-huh.
but I would have an income tax liability if I kept my address there. So right now, all I have is, I still have my address at my aunt's house, but that's where the IRS thinks that I am.
Right.
So probably I need to move that. I need to get one of these traveling mailboxes and have it in another state just to be totally clean. I mean,
Right.
I'm not registered to vote there anymore. I don't have a driver's license, but these are things to think about, guys, right? So you're going to move, if you're not going to actually have a property somewhere, you probably don't want to have to pay state income taxes. And so it may just be a little bit of money, but it's, every dollar counts. So it might be worth it to get your mailing address somewhere else.
The other thing that we found, Kim, we have the traveling mailbox, and we use Bruce's sister's address in North Carolina both, because some of the companies that we did business with, and I think our bank was one of them, when we tried to change our address to the traveling mailbox address, the bank's computer system recognized it as a virtual address and would not accept it in their system.
Okay.
So for
Yeah,
some
that's-
companies, you might have to have an actual address.
Mhm. I wondered about that too, because I have Wells Fargo in the US, and they won't, sadly, one time my bank card was damaged. They wouldn't send the new one to me here, and they wouldn't, I think I tried to have it sent to a PO box. They wouldn't do that either. It had to go to like the account the address that I had when I set up the account. So it is something to think about and to talk to your bank or whoever, just to make sure that you're going to be able to receive mail there. You may just need a physical address somewhere. But that's a big one. And I think, Caroline, you mentioned that too, that getting all that sorted out ahead of time is helpful.
Yeah, the online presence is what was most important to me. And even 10 years ago, because I do everything sitting at a computer. And so, having all those usernames and passwords, having, everything handy and right in front of you, it's a lot of work. You don't realize how many you have until you don't have them anymore. So you want to be sure that you have everything handy wherever you store it in your computer. so that when you get here, you can access all of your accounts online. And we set up all kinds of auto payments and things like that to make our lives a lot easier. We still have a mortgage in the US. We still have a home there and some other things even after 10 years. So, you know, we still have accounts in the United States that we have to, you know, pay some bills and things like that. So be sure you consider that. I would say your life will be a lot easier if you get that all those things consolidated online as much as you can.
And life is kind of great when you don't have to go through junk mail every day.
Oh yeah.
I don't really miss mail, strangely enough.
You know, one of the first things we did when we got here was buy a mailbox because I'm so used to having mail, you know. We bought a tiny little mailbox and put it, we have a stone wall outside. So we had to drill into the stone wall and put my little mailbox there. And the guys who deliver your like electric bill or your water bill, instead of putting it in my gate, then they put it in my little mailbox. So
yeah,
yay. It works.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
Any questions about this part, you guys? No. All right. So kind of related to that was that you probably need to figure out how you're going to do your banking, how you're going to access your money. A lot of people, well, some people are moving here and they're going to be doing renovations or building a home, which you know, will probably necessitate you having an account in Mexico and an account in the US. So one thing you want to be sure of is to understand what your bank is going to charge you for international transactions, including withdrawing money from ATMs. For many years, I didn't have an account here. There was no bank in Puerto Morelos, for one thing, which is annoying. And so I just withdrew cash from Wells Fargo, which was fine when they didn't charge an international transaction fee. They imposed that a few years in and it was pretty steep. So I had to think of something else to do. But it is important to understand if your bank is going to work well with transferring money here. What are they going to charge you for transfers or ATM withdrawals? Is there a per transaction fee? A lot of people here suggest having a Charles Schwab account. I guess they don't have any international transaction fees and they are supposedly very easy to work with. I haven't done that. The other thing is that if you get a PayPal debit card, there's no transaction fees on that. And that's nice because a lot of places will also, you can use it online as well. What bank do you guys have, Caroline?
I have my retirement rolled into Charles Schwab, but they have a banking, I don't know what you call it. It's like a separate account that it's just attached to my retirement account that is no fee banking. Okay. So it's Charles Schwab is really nice. I know that Keith and Bruce also, I think, have a Charles Schwab. Lots of people do. Maybe the other banks offer that, Wells Fargo and the others do it, but I don't know. I use Charles Schwab. And then I also have a CI Banco here locally because we are doing a renovation, as you mentioned. And I like to have some local funds because you have to buy a lot of that stuff, you know, right away and everything's cash. So I want to have cash on hand. But we still also use quite a bit of US Bank that we have in New Mexico. And we use the ATM for that. So we have 3 different banking institutions that we work with.
Another option is Transferwise, which we've actually had people use and I've used to transfer money from Wells Fargo to my Mexican bank account. They give you a much better exchange rate, at least whenever I've checked. But they also are just a bank. And so they've changed their name to Wise, not just Transferwise, and you can just use them as a bank. And that's an interesting option. Why they appeal to me is that when I try to transfer sometimes I need to transfer dollars from Wells Fargo to my Mexican account, which is in pesos. And Wells Fargo charges a big wire transfer fee and they give me a terrible exchange rate. My bank here also gives me a pretty bad exchange rate. So if I use Transferwise, which is now called Wise, I transfer the money from Wells Fargo to Wise they give me a great exchange rate, and then they transfer it for a much lower fee to my CI Banco account. So they receive the pesos.
Hey,
It's
Kim,
not a huge amount of money that I'm saving, but whatever. I don't like paying banks, so I'm happy to be able to do that.
Kim, to set up a bank account, you need at least temporary residency, right?
Not at CI Banco. They'll do it on a tourist visa.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So
The
sorry,
only-
what was the name of that bank again?
CI Banco. It's two different words. CI is one word and Banco is the other word. And it's located right here in Puerto Morelos. The only bummer with CI Banco is that they do give you a debit card, which doesn't work online. It's for some bizarre reason. So you can't order online with your debit card. You can use it. You can pay at restaurants and shops and everything, but you can't order online with that.
So I can use it at the ATMs.
Yes.
Oh, perfect.
One note to self, be aware that if you ever have in a calendar year more than 10,000 US dollars or more, the equivalent of 10,000 US dollars or more, you're going to trigger some additional IRS reporting and filing. So be really aware of that, because the penalties for not disclosing that are pretty huge. And it's really nothing to go ahead and disclose it. I don't know if Canada has the same thing.
So we found that disclosure, Kim, which is really important over the years, you just have to, there's a form you have to file that you have this money. You're not paying any additional, you're not paying a fee on it. It's just an advice, is like Kim is saying, just an advice. It's not a fee or anything to do it, but there's a big penalty if you don't.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, we have something like that. You have to register your foreign accounts.
Yeah.
Are the bank fees similar, Kim, to US bank fees at CI Banco?
Mhm.
I think there is a fee on my account at CI Banco. I just opened one at Bancomer, which is charging me what I consider an outrageous fee. It's 1,000 pesos a month, and they made me buy some insurance with the promise that if I bought their insurance in 6 months, they would stop charging me for it. I don't know, it was so convoluted, but that seems steep to me, a $50 a month charge to have my money there. But CI Banco, I don't think I pay anything.
I don't think I pay anything there either. We do pay ATM transaction fees though, but they're pretty typical, low. Yeah.
Yeah. So in town, the two options are CI Banco or BBVA. There's a Banco Azteca, which I
CI, right?
guess isn't really a bank. I don't know if anyone's familiar with Banco Azteca. That has opened. But the bigger banks, the more well-known banks, are in Cancun and Playa, and that would be Scotiabank, HSBC. What's another big one?
There's Scotiabank.
Yes, Scotia.
Scotiabank, in Cancun or Playa.
I don't think you can, just because if you had a Scotiabank account in Canada, just like if I have a BBVA Compass account, it's BBVA Compass Mexico, BBVA Compass USA. So it's not an easy transfer. They still make you do wires, I think. I was asking about that.
You're correct, Brian. We have exactly that. We had a BBVA account in New Mexico. We have since closed it because you cannot transfer without being present. I mean, we would have to go to New Mexico to even transfer the money. And there were, a lot of fees associated with that as well. So we've closed our BBVA account in New Mexico because we thought it was going to be easy, but you can't. They're different banks.
And that is a really good point. If you're going to buy a property or you need a bunch of cash in Mexico, in many banks, they require you to be physically present to authorize big wire transfers. So that's something to consider before you come, if that's going to come up and be an issue.
Kim,
Uh-huh.
our bank that we use in the States is called Truist. It used to be SunTrust, which is a big bank in the Southeast in Florida, and they merged with BB&T, and now they're called Truist. We were able to arrange with them before we came down here. We registered for a PIN number to do an international wire transfer, and we stipulated to them what the maximum allowed would be. And that saved one of us having to fly back to the States when we bought the house in order to initiate a wire transfer. As long as we have that PIN, you can't use it online. You have to call in to the service center, but they will take your PIN over the phone and they will do a very large or large-ish wire transfer for you without someone having to be in a branch.
Well, that's good to know. That's handy, much handier.
Another thing that we have discovered, like you said earlier, we have purchased a house, and like Caroline, we are doing a major renovation. So we need large amounts of cash periodically. The bank needs advance notice of how much we're going to withdraw so they can secure the funds and have it at the bank, which is often like 1 or 2 days ahead of time.
Okay.
So that's just something to think about. You can't just pop in and withdraw a large amount of money.
Yeah. No, that's good to know. Any other questions or comments on the banking thing?
I do have a question. Kim, when you talked about you have to declare if you have 10K or plus, you declare that to the US government?
Hmm.
Okay, because you still have property there and because,
No, it's because you're an American citizen.
okay,
Any American, yeah. If you have money in a foreign bank account that reaches the equivalent value of 10,000 US dollars at any point during a calendar year, you are required to file, I think it's called a FATCA, foreign account. I can look it up. You have to file that disclosure with your taxes.
okay, it's the foreign funds that you have to declare.
It's the fact that you had the equivalent of 10,000 US dollars in foreign currency in a bank account.
Okay, thank you.
If you use, if you have an accountant and you tell them, or if you use any of the major softwares like TurboTax or all of these software programs, and you go through the question by question, they will ask you. At some point, they will say to you, a question will pop up on your screen and say, do you have funds in excess of $10,000 in a foreign country? And if you say yes, it just asks you what country, what's the bank, it just asks you a few questions and you fill it out, and that fills out that form that Kim is saying. And there's no extra tax. It's just a declaration that you have money in a foreign bank account.
Okay, thank
The
you.
only tricky thing about it is that they want to know what your highest balance, what day and what was your highest balance in any calendar year. So you got to scour your bank statements for that. Because of course, for some reason, the bank can't just generate that for you. You can't put that in as a query.
Yeah.
So I have to go through 12 months of statements to find the date that I had the highest balance and declare that. But yeah, it's not, I mean, it's annoying, but it doesn't cost you, you're not having to pay tax on it or anything like that.
Okay.
Anything else?
So Tori and Megan must be in finance, one of them, because they got the F bar, it's called, Kim.
Yeah, you're right. It is the F bar. I didn't see the chat. Is the chat happening?
Yeah.
The F bar. Yeah. So someone didn't know about that, and I had to do my thing in arrears, which wasn't fun. So do it now. Do it when it happens. Okay. So we've done get your life, get everything online. We've done banking. I guess we should talk a little bit about immigration. If you're planning on relocating to Mexico, full or part-time, you may want to consider getting some kind of resident visa. I'm not going to go through all the requirements of that, except to tell you that if you're going to do that, you need to start that in the States or Canada. You can't start it in Mexico. So if you think that's something you want to do, you need to get started on that. Do your research, talk to the attorney ahead of time, get that started and approved while you're still home. And then when you enter Mexico, you can finish that process. So that's something to consider before you move.
Hey, Kim, since we haven't got a place yet, you can't really start until you own a place, right?
You can start anytime, yep.
Oh, I can? Oh,
You don't
Oh, I
have to-
thought you needed
Well-
to own something.
No. So let me back up. What I suggested to you was, if you want to,
Mhm.
you can wait until you own it, and then that will bolster your application. If you don't think you're going to have any trouble with the financial requirements, you don't need to wait until you own the property.
Oh, okay.
So I think it looks more pressing if you already own the property, and I've had several people who showed them I'm buying, you know, they had their certified copy or whatever, they showed it to them, and that kind of bolstered their application. Because you really, if you can, you want to go directly to permanent resident visa status, so you don't have to keep reapplying. But yeah, you don't have to own property to get a visa.
Okay.
Kim, I have a question. Hi, this is Jorge.
Hi, Jorge.
My question is, what percentage of the folks are down there, they actually get resident visas, or they go ahead and do the visitor visa, which is 6 months, and they stay 5 months and a half, and they come back? Like, for example, how is Caroline doing it? How is Keith doing it? How are you doing it? Can you share some of that experience, please?
Sure. Well, I mean, in my case, when I moved to Mexico almost 10 years ago, I was going to work. So I got a temporary resident visa with permission to work. So I had to have that for 4 years. I didn't qualify for permanent resident visa. In my case, I had that for 4 years, and then I was automatically, I don't really think they could have denied me unless I did something wrong. Then they gave me permanent resident visa status. But Caroline, you went through temporary as well, didn't you?
We went through temporary. We moved at the same time that Kim did almost 10 years ago now. Yay. And but they didn't offer us permanent residency right away. We had to go through the temporary process. About our second or third year into it, somebody said, oh, you can get it for 3 or 4 years. You know, you don't have to go 1 year, 1 year, 1 year. But John and I ended up doing the 1 year, 1 year, 1 year. So it took us 4.5 years or something, 5 years to get our permanent residency. But we have permanent residency now. And we have driver's license. We have, John has a senior citizen card for discounts. So we're not citizens, but we have all the other paperwork that we belong in Mexico.
So there are a number of people who have owned property here or been coming for years and years and years who never got anything but tourist visas. They're coming in on tourist visas. They're staying 6 months. In some cases, they're making a run for the border and coming right back in. That's worked for many years. The news now is that they're cutting down on that. They want you, if you're really going to make your residence here, they prefer that you get your temporary resident visa if you can. But yeah, so people are doing it all different ways.
So my daughter, for example, oh, sorry.
Just a follow-up question real quick, since we're talking about visa residency. How about health insurance? To apply for the local health insurance, do you need a resident visa or visitor visa? How are you guys doing it down there?
Well, maybe Keith and Bruce could answer that.
I've looked into the EAMS program, which is the nationalized healthcare. If you have residency, either permanent or temporary, you can buy into the program. You can apply and buy in. It's not free. You pay a premium for the year for that nationalized health insurance. But my understanding is that you do have to have either permanent or temporary residency. We're doing the same thing that Kim and Caroline have gone through. We're going through temporary first in order to get our permanent. And the other thing to consider, if you don't have either permanent or temporary residency, you cannot buy a car in Mexico.
Unless you buy from a dealer, which we're learning now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I've had several clients buy from a dealer new, and they have been able to register the car.
Oh, cool.
I was always told the same thing that you were told, which is that you have to have some kind of visa to register. But I now know that there are rules and then there's what actually happens.
Okay.
So I think that it really depends on who you work with, but it is possible to register a car without a resident visa.
And the other thing about insurance, Jorge, is I have the U.S. insurance. My husband was a U.S. Marine, so we have the military insurance back in the States. And we continue to use that. I'll fly back if I have something that I can schedule that I know that I need to, needs to be attended to. But if I have an emergency or anything like that, there are loads of hospitals here that you can go in. There are private hospitals that you can go in, and then I bill back my insurance. I submit claims for reimbursement.
Thank you.
So insurance was next on my list, by the way. And so one thing is you should investigate your insurance options. I would suggest if you're coming just for an extended visit, or if you're first coming down, you could at least get a travel insurance policy. They're not very expensive.
Yep.
The main thing you want is for major medical, and then you want some transportation back. So if you're a person who's insured, like Canadians who have insurance, or Americans who, like Caroline, have another insurance policy, the very expensive thing is moving someone back if you're injured and can't take a commercial flight. So if I were coming now I do this when I go to the US. Before I had insurance here, now it covers me, but when I would go to the US, I would buy a travel insurance policy because I'm screwed if I get hurt in the US and didn't have insurance. So I would suggest when you're coming here, you would do the same thing, just buy a travel insurance policy. You have to buy it before you travel though, so it's something to look into. And then consider getting some insurance here. I think the insurance is...
Yeah, everybody here is under 75, but I know that Canadians who are 75 can't travel outside the US or can't travel outside of Canada anymore. They can't, no Canadian insurers will insure 75 and over to travel outside of Canada anymore. None.
Because of
Zero.
COVID?
No, they just stopped doing it because because they were losing money. Yeah, because they were just too many 75-year-olds end up visiting hospitals when they're outside of Canada. So it's significant enough that they're noticing it in Europe. You're finding fewer and fewer Canadians over the age of 75 able to travel internationally.
Well, if you want to use your insurance back home.
If you want to use your
insurance here, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you bought a travel policy, then you'd be
You
covered.
can't buy a Canadian travel policy. There are none. They won't sell it to you if you're 75 years of age. That's the problem. So I guess what you could do, well, I guess you could get a US travel policy and get flown back to the US and get your health care there. But
Brian,
yeah.
When did that come into effect?
Oh, that was about 2 or 3 years ago. And I know this because I'm originally from Canada. I live in Houston. And my parents weren't able to, they stopped, they were no longer able to, they used to go to Florida all the time. That all stopped. There might be things you could, I don't know, there may be things you can do in Florida, but I know you can't. I know they were unable to fly to the state of Texas. They were unable, they had to cancel. They used to go to Mexico quite a bit. Had to cancel all of that. And both my parents have some pre-existing health care, so maybe that's it. Maybe I correct myself. There may be, you can't have a pre-existing health care condition.
Okay, because Lorraine, my wife's mom, my mother-in-law,
yeah,
she is 91 this year.
Okay.
And she got additional health insurance, not 2019. She got it in 2019.
Maybe, well, and then it might be the pre-existing conditions that were knocking my parents out.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yeah, always, check on your own situation. I think that's true for everything we're saying, but yeah, it's certainly medical insurance is something to think about. It is tempting, and I did it myself, to not have it because really everything's so cheap here. But what happened was a friend of ours had a heart attack and had extremely expensive bills, and we were like, maybe we should get insurance because we were kind of playing it a little crazy. And it wasn't outrageous getting it here. I think we're both, I'm 56 and he's 53. And I think our policy is around 2,000, the equivalent of 2,000 US dollars a year. So I don't think that's crazy. It's way less than I was paying in the US. And we have a really nice policy. We have like a top of the line policy. So that's awesome.
One thing that happened to us, I went to the Cuban clinic, which is just a doctor, just for a regular checkup. And due to, we found out later, malfunctioning equipment, the doctor thought I suspected I might have COVID, sent me to Costa Med for a lung x-ray, which would have cost
$155 is what they told us.
$155, but I had to come back later because the x-ray technician wasn't there. Came back later and showed them my temporary Visa card. The price went from $150 whatever dollars to 30 something.
Yeah, if you can
So-
show you're a resident, they'll give you the
Yeah.
discount.
Get your residency card.
But I mean, that's something to think about if you're considering trying to go for residency or just doing the tourist visa carousel. You know, if you're concerned about medical costs while you're here, I think sometimes there is a big difference depending on your residency status.
That's a good point. All right, any other questions about that?
Lori's asking about border runs to re-up your tourist visa. Are they cracking down? I mean, I really don't know anybody. My daughter is doing it, but she's just flying home naturally to do it. I don't know about any crackdowns or anything on that type of thing.
Someone keeps scaring everybody about that. People keep
Yeah.
posting about it, but I don't know
Oh.
anyone who's actually had it happen. So I don't know if that's just a rumor, you know, rumors get started.
Part of the rumor I heard was that it was people that were working here with tourist visas that they were cracking down on, is what I had heard on one of the YouTube guys. I think it might have been Q Paul or something like that that said that.
Well, I do think they're cracking down on that, but that's a
Yeah.
different issue.
Yeah, but that's what he was saying, that they weren't cracking down on tourist visa people coming. It was people working on tourist visa that was the issue.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's always in your best interest to try to comply with the law because you're a guest in this country. And so all of us have to keep that in mind. I mean, even as a permanent resident visa holder, I'm a guest in this country and I could have that taken away from me. So, so I think if you can do it legitimately, it's probably the best thing to do. Okay, so we did immigration, we did medical insurance, we did banking. One thing that people always ask, they're all freaked out about the phone, and I remember I was freaked out about phones too. I was like, but I want my I want to keep my US number and blah, 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 blah. Just, you don't need to keep your US number. I mean, if you have like T-Mobile, and some of these plans offer US, Mexico, and Canadian calling for free and data for free. If you're lucky enough to have one of those plans, then you could probably keep it. But if you're going to be living here, I mean, you could just get a Telcel plan, which also offers Mexico, Canada, and the US for free. We traveled to France and it worked perfectly fine. Like it wasn't even crazy expensive. Well, the data was a little bit expensive, but Telcel's perfectly fine. What I do think you need to think about is that many places, including my bank, and I think there's a few other accounts that I have, they want you to have a US number to text because they're going to text you some security codes to enter. So I do have a US number, but I have it through Cloud Phone. And Cloud Phone is a service that we actually use for our business as well. We have our 866 number with them, but then I also have a local number. And it just works, it just sends to my phone. So it rings and it rings on my cell phone. If I get a text, it texts my cell phone. So it's, you know, they think I have a US number. They're happy to send it to me. I get the code and then I just enter it. So you may need to keep a US or Canadian number, and I suggest that you do it with one of these voice over internet protocol places. Cloud Phone is what I use, but there's some other ones. Let me see.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I only took notes on Cloud Phone, but it's, I think mine's like $9 a month. It's not crazy. I know, I just saw someone post about a service where you can, it's only for texting, which also would work because that's usually what they're trying to do, is text you. And then you don't have to pay for calling.
We have T-Mobile, like you mentioned, but they have this senior plan that just came out. So it's like, well, senior over 50. So So John and I got it, and it reduced our monthly fee, and we have unlimited everything anywhere we go. It's just fantastic. And it's been working in Mexico. The funny part is I get a text every month from T-Mobile saying, welcome to Mexico. You're able to have unlimited calling and unlimited data and everything. And I'm like, excellent, another month.
So
Excellent.
they've never ratcheted you back on that? Because I've
Never.
Okay. Some people have told me that when they think you've been there too long, they start making noises about it, but I don't know.
No, we've had them all 10 years we've been here, never had a problem.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep.
And so but you have a Mexican number as well, or no?
I do. I have a Mexican number that came with my Izzy internet. So I have a phone number here in my house that's a Mexican phone number, which is also very helpful for delivery guys and stuff like that. And then we also have mobile cellulars that we bought here, little cheapos, and we just, load them up with the OXO. And so we have those available to us too. So we have local calling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I have a question
Sure.
again.
It's okay.
I was under the impression that people used WhatsApp a lot in Mexico.
That was on my next
Yes.
thing, Natasha. Yes, whatever phone you have, whatever plan you have to download WhatsApp, which is, thank you for bringing that up. It's a free international calling, texting, video calling service. It's encrypted, so it's probably safer than anything else that you're using, but everyone uses it here. And in fact, they use it around the world. It's just, for some reason, Americans and Canadians are not, I had never heard of it when I moved here, but this is how you're gonna get around. Your life is going to revolve around WhatsApp. So you're going to have to have it.
Okay.
So get over your resistance because it's here. But it's super handy. You can do, it's like FaceTime. You do video calls, you text, you have regular calls. Often,
Microphone recorded messages.
Yeah, you can leave voice messages.
Photos.
I have Telcel and I can make calls, but I never call on Telcel because it's always a terrible connection.
Well, and it's free. So
Yeah.
I have a bunch of friends in Europe, and that's how we communicate. WhatsApp is free. So
the whole world is using it except America and Canada. Yeah, but it's awesome, and you just have to have it. So get used to it, download it, and that's the way you can keep in touch with people. But what I was saying is that I don't do voice calls over Telcel just from my cell phone because there's always this weird time lag in the talking.
Mm-hmm.
But WhatsApp is usually crystal clear and perfect. The other thing I use is Facebook Messenger, which was not my favorite thing, but actually I get the best call quality on that. So, and you can use that on your cell phone as well. So those are the two ways that I make calls to the US and Canada.
And the WhatsApp is great here if your Spanish is not great, because we use it for so many things. You call to order food, or you WhatsApp to order food, to order water, to order gas cylinders, or whatever. And if your Spanish is not great, then using WhatsApp gives you the opportunity to run things back and forth through Google Translate. It makes things.
Oh, wow.
Totally. Yeah. So get WhatsApp.
Go ahead.
I guess the other thing with WhatsApp is you could turn your Canadian phone, I guess, on airline mode, and it just uses the internet. And if you're even at a bar or whatnot, just use their internet. You can WhatsApp, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what everybody does?
As long as you have Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
If you don't want to use your data, you don't have to, but then you're only going to get messages when you're on Wi-Fi.
Right.
We had T-Mobile, like Caroline was talking about, on the senior plan. When we first got here, and it was great. And I was very attached to my US phone number. I don't know why. I don't even like talking on the phone that much, but I'd had that phone number since like 1996. And then when we got here, we found that it was really handy to have a local phone number here. 'Cause, like, even when we opened our bank accounts at BBVA, they need to send you a text with a link in it for encryption or passwords, or, it's part of the process of setting up your account. And we still had our US phone numbers at that time. So we had to borrow somebody's Mexican phone number.
It was me.
Have the text
You
sent to
borrowed mine.
Oh, and
It was me.
have the text sent and then sent to us. And it was kind of a, just a little bit of a pain. And then we just switched to Telcel, and it's so cheap compared to even T-Mobile in the US. And, if you need to enter a local number for websites, because we missed a package delivery one day, and Bruce went online to try to reschedule the package delivery with DHL. And you couldn't do it unless you entered a cell phone number on their website, and it won't take the +1 country code.
Yep.
It will take the +52. So it's really handy to have a local number. We found, for us anyway.
So now every time BBVA needs to communicate with you guys, Kim gets a text.
No, we
Oh,
have
they
local
changed
numbers
it.
now.
Yeah.
That was only temporary.
No, I was worried because then I went up to open my account and I was like, I don't know if my phone number is already in your system, but they'd already taken care of it. So that was good. Okay. One important thing. So depending on what you're going to do here, you may need some important documents, including your birth certificate. Yes, they sometimes want your birth certificate, even though you have a passport, which you couldn't have gotten without a birth certificate.
Yeah.
And your marriage license or certificate. I don't know if there's really anything else that they request. You guys can pipe in anytime you want, but it's probably a good idea to go ahead and get important documents like that certified, for one thing, like a certified copy of your birth certificate, and then take the extra step to get it apostilled. And apostille is basically a process wherein the Secretary of State's office in the US, and it's a different office in Canada, I'm going to forget the name, is basically certifying that yes, the document that you have provided is a legal document in the state that it purports to be from. So we see this often with death certificates, birth certificates, well, and marriage licenses. And so you have to have it notarized or certified and then sent to the Secretary of State's office, where they will issue an apostille. Then it has to be translated into Spanish. You might want to just get that done before you come. Also, I would keep a big binder with actual paper, believe it or not. Right? You want electronic copies and paper copies, because in Mexico, paper is king. They have not gone all electronic, and so it is likely at some point you may be asked for these documents. And it's, Keith and Bruce just went through this, having to try to have it done from here, and it was kind of a huge nightmare. So it's a good idea to have all your important documents pulled together, and you may want to get them apostilled as well, if you think that will come up.
So birth certificate and marriage license, you got to get in Spanish?
After it's apostilled, you'll have it translated into Spanish. I have never had, no one has asked me for anything that I've needed to have apostilled.
Oh,
You,
okay.
Keith and Bruce had a situation where they were asked for theirs. Caroline, have you had to have yours?
I did have to have my birth certificate years and years ago for something, but not in Spanish. It was my original birth certificate. It had
But
the
I mean,
reseal.
after you apostille it, it has to be translated.
Right,
into
we didn't
Spanish.
do the apostilling part of it. I just had my, certified copy.
Okay.
We had our marriage certificate apostilled in the US before we moved down here, and we needed that for the paperwork we filed with the consulate in Atlanta in order to get our residency visas. And we had our birth certificates apostilled after we got down here, because if you are going to try to apply for the EAMS program, the nationalized healthcare in Mexico, you have to have apostilled and translated copies of your birth certificates for the application.
All right. So yeah, it's hard to say what you'll need, but it might, if you can get it done, it might as well get it done before you come. And
I think, and don't kick yourself in the tush. You're gonna run into stuff that you're not gonna have, Nobody had a gallery of 15 people giving me advice before I moved down here. So we had to slog through a whole bunch of complications, but you guys have really, you're getting a good running start, but you're probably going to run into a few things here and there because, things change and the requirements change. So, you know, but just, I think it's smart that Kim's doing this because you're getting a running start.
Yeah.
Much easier
Thank you.
for you. Yes.
You guys get your birth certificate translated?
Well, they don't translate. So what they do is once you submit it and have it apostilled, you have someone in Mexico translate it into, it has to be a certified translator. They charge a fortune, but there's only certain translators who are legally qualified to translate your apostilled documents. And I don't think they translate the actual certificate, they translate the apostille, which is saying this is a real document. So that brings me to kind of, I questioned whether this should be number one, but basically, what are you going to do with your stuff? That is the question. When you're moving to Mexico full or part-time, you have a house full of stuff, maybe more than one house full of stuff, and you have to decide what you're going to do with it. Many people who I work with think that they are going to move their stuff here. They think they can just put it in boxes and send it here. They talk about renting moving trucks. Some people want to put stuff on a container ship and bring it over from Miami. All of those things are possible, and they're all super expensive and very complicated. It's not easy to move things into Mexico. Part of it is, well, the main thing is that it's expensive because they're going to try to charge you a duty tax on anything that you bring into Mexico. There is a household exemption for people moving to Mexico, but when you use the household exemption, you're required to do some very intense inventorying and proving of value. And so it's not impossible, people do it all the time, but it just makes you have to consider what's really worth going through this brain damage to bring to Mexico. What can you live without? What do you need? And so I would say when you are thinking of making a move like this, as soon as possible, when you feel like this is a reasonable thing on your horizon, start to consider what you want to do with your stuff. Because probably you for sure can't just put it in boxes and ship it down here. They're going to charge you a fortune.
Yeah, but I have to bring my dog.
Well, your dog's okay. That's a different thing.
Now, tell me about that. What do I do about my dog?
Well, it depends on the size of your dog. Airlines will allow you to check the dog or have them in the plane with you. I think that's it. I think you have to fly, or else you drive down with your dog.
We've done it lots of different ways with our Esperanza, our 80-pound Labrador who has passed, rest in peace. But many times by plane and by land, both. And you just have to have a certificate of health within 10 days of travel into the country. The airlines, as Kim mentioned, you can travel with the small animals in cabin or service animals in cabin, although they are cracking down on that. And you can also check them as cargo, depending on the weather and the climate. And if you can tolerate that idea of your animal being in the belly of the plane, we never could. So we always had her on the plane with us, or we would drive. We drove a lot. They never checked our paperwork. In fact, one time we were going through the Santa Teresa crossing in New Mexico, and they said, "What's in that bag right there?" And we're like, "Oh, it's, candy and just stuff for us to munch on in the car for a 5-day drive." And they said, "Okay, pass on through." And I'm like, "But we have a dog. Don't you want to see our dog or our paper?" Nope. They just wanted that candy. But yeah, it's easy with the animals.
One thing we found, we brought our cat down on the plane, in the plane, and not in the
Cargo
hold. Thank you. But we found out, at least our understanding was, they will not allow you to sedate your animal.
Yeah.
Oh.
At least,
I don't think you want to anyway.
well.
You don't know their cat.
Oh, I don't know your cat. Yeah.
Yeah, a cat, you do want them to be calm, because when you go, if they're going to be in the cabin with you, when you go through airport security, you have to take them out of the carrier
Oh.
to go through security. So You don't want to, cats can be really spastic like that. The other thing I was going to say too was really check with the airlines right now. I think some of the rules have changed because of COVID. Delta told us last summer when we moved down here, they're not taking any animals in cargo hold anymore right now.
Wow.
Yeah. So that if you got a big dog, that might limit. That was just Delta. I don't know about any of the other airlines.
You're driving.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of information online about what you need to bring your animal in. And I'm sorry, I'm adding that to the list because that's a good one that I should have had on here. And I just don't know the requirements right now, and they change, right? They change a lot. So in general, it's not difficult to bring a pet with you. They're part of your family. Many people do it. It's, people are here with their pets all the time.
But there's also a lot of local pets that are available for adoption.
Yes, that's true.
Good plug, good plug.
Yeah, way to go, Caroline.
And when you get here, your dog's not allowed on very many beaches.
Right. Be aware.
Be aware, you can't.
Oh, that is so confusing too, because there's the rule and then there's actual practice, which are completely different.
Well, somebody was saying you could take them.
Unleashed is highly frowned upon.
I guess south of the pier you're allowed, I heard.
Yeah, Punta.
Well, I
Bronco.
only heard that today when somebody posted it. I don't think that's true.
You're not sure that's true? Oh.
Yeah, I posted it today or yesterday.
We were at Puerto Morelos and Easter, and that's not true. Although there are a lot of loose dogs, they're not permitted. There
Okay.
are signs that say no dogs, no pets. But I mean, there's a lot of dogs on the beach, so I think that's why that impression got created.
Yeah.
We're not exactly sure what all the laws are. I live 100 steps from the sand. I have my dog on there every single day. But we also leash. We're into that leashing. I don't let my dog run out in the street. So I've always had her leashed when we're on the beach, but every single day we go to the beach. So who knows?
Yeah, it's hard to say.
So Kim, back to your original topic of stuff besides
Yes.
pet.
Yes.
What were you going to say as far as what to bring, how to bring stuff?
Well, I mean, I think you just, you have to decide what is worth paying to move and what you can live without. I mean, when my mom came here in 2001, when I originally came, we drove from Colorado because there was many, many things you couldn't get here. Like it was very difficult to find things, but now you can really get just about anything here. Furniture, there's Costco, there's Sam's, there's Amazon Mexico, Amazon.com delivers to Mexico. So you don't need to bring your pots and pans. You don't need to spend money to move things like that here. I think everyone has their own level of, attachment to their stuff. Well, I guess my situation's different because we had a house here that was furnished already, but I have just hauled hundreds of pounds of free bags on Southwest for 10 years. I mean, that's how I've gotten my stuff here, that I felt like I couldn't live without, which it turns out is not that much because I've been paying for storage in Colorado for many years that I just need to get rid of. You just don't, and the other thing is this is a harsh climate. And so you don't want to, there's many things that are not going to be happy here. I had these wooden barrister bookcases that were passed down in my family that I loved and thought I couldn't live without, but I just realized that they're not going to be happy here. This old wood is not from Colorado. It's not going to do well here.
Kim, any idea about oil paintings?
I do not.
I was just gonna say that artwork and stuff. I have all of my art I left in New Mexico. Anything of any value, I left it in New Mexico because I've been afraid. We are doing some work on the house though right now, and maybe I'll reconsider if I can get some things sealed up, some of these windows and things sealed up. But there's so much moisture and there's so much salt in the air that I would really be hesitant to bring anything
okay.
of any value like that.
All right, thank you.
What have you brought? Oh, well, Caroline, you brought a load of furniture type stuff just recently, not
Yep.
originally. Yeah.
Yep, I have a little bit of furniture here, stuff, that we've accumulated over the years that was small and I could, would do well here. So I brought a bed that I love, and I brought a step tongsu that I got in Korea. It is wood, but it's a sealed wood because it was actually built on the coast there. So, but yeah, and mostly stuff for my kitchen, my desk for my office, which is a laminate. What else? My chairs, not this one, but I have an Aileron chair that I brought for my office because I was working here. Now I don't work and I have all this office stuff, but yeah, a little bit, Kim, but not a lot, and a lot of kitchen stuff because I like to cook and I have gadgets and I wanted my gadgets. So, no sense in, there's no Williams Sonoma here. So I wanted to
There
bring
is in Mexico City.
I know, but we could go there and get it. But I brought a bunch of stuff from the US that I want for cooking.
The one thing that I would bring is that linens are for some reason outrageously expensive here for anything like decent. So I would bring bedding and linens, not towels, but like sheets. Do you bring towels? I didn't bring towels, but
the towels I've gotten here have been they just don't last a couple of years, and it's just like, oh. I mean, I don't know how long you expect your towels to last, but.
The thing about the linens too, though, if you're going to do your own laundry, then bring nice stuff. If you're going to use a lavanderia, I wouldn't, because we use a lavanderia and our towels get ruined on the regular.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
And some clothes.
Yeah.
I've bought a couple of shirts recently that have been ruined because at the lavanderia, they wash them with everything. And some towels bled onto 2 shirts that I had to throw away.
Yikes.
So, yeah.
I want to say I do my own laundry, but I haven't done laundry in years. My husband does the laundry in our house.
Go, Maureen.
Hi, Kim.
Hi, John.
It's John and Lorraine. I think we're going to have to sign off here. So we didn't want to bother people with questions just about our particular, situation. But so we'll make an appointment with you to Zoom call about some of the stuff that we've been emailing you about.
That would be great.
Okay, and then we're going to have to sign off soon. So.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything you want to talk about before you go?
No, we'll get in touch with you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Kim.
For joining us.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, John.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
One thing I would say, so you'll have to make decisions about your household stuff and what you want to bring. And some people, I mean, I've had clients pack up their whole house and put it on a container and bring it over. And they were happy about it. They didn't mind spending the money, but that was probably about 7 years ago. I think it's a little more expensive now. But one thing I would say is, I think I just lost my train of thought. I was going to say about clothing, don't give away all your cold weather clothing because it does get chilly here. I mean, you're going to laugh when I say what chilly is, but like in the 70s, which you think is warm, but when you live here and you get acclimated, 70, you're sweater weather. And below 70, you're going to be crying to everyone that you see. So you will want to keep some layers, and also because you might travel. I mean, there's amazing, Mexico's an amazing, beautiful place. You may travel places in the wintertime, which are not warm places. So you want to at least have, some, light sweaters, wraps. I would always say to bring rain boots because we do have kind of extreme rain events every once in a while, and you're going to wish that you had some boots if you have to go tromping around outside. What else do you guys recommend?
I've worn long pants once in the last 9 months. I mean, and I didn't, turned out I didn't really need to wear it that day.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. If I had to fly back to Georgia in the wintertime right now, I don't know what I would do. Because I mean, I brought a fleece down here with me, but I don't have any kind of a heavy coat. So.
Yeah, I made the mistake of not bringing anything, thinking I will, I'm never going to need that. And I really did need it. And also, if I fly back to Colorado in the winter, which I prefer not to do, but I've had to do, you got to have something till the time when you go from the airport to a warm car. And it does get chilly here. So I would keep, a couple changes of clothes, just throw that in your bag and have it here. And
I have a full-blown
some
winter wardrobe here.
Yeah, some restaurants, and you may not in Puerto Morelos, of course, but if you go somewhere a little fancier, maybe you're going to meet some friends who are staying on a resort. In many of those restaurants, men have to wear pants. So that's the only time Gabrielle wears pants is when we go to a nice restaurant, or we travel. When we fly, he likes to wear pants.
Kim, I have another question. Can you share a little bit about the public transportation down there? Like when I get around, are those guys down there buying cars right away, or they're hiring a taxi? How are they doing it?
So I think, everyone has their own thing. A lot of people are using public transportation because it's so easy. There's I'm going to forget the name. What is the name of the little buses?
Colectivo.
The Colectivos go around. There's the ADO, which is the nicer buses, and taxis are fairly inexpensive. Or a lot of people just get bikes and they are biking around when they can. But I don't know, you guys,
We were not going to buy a car. We had no intentions of buying a car if we moved down here. We were going to use public transportation or, call a taxi when we needed one. And we changed our minds really quick. We got down here on July 31st and it was super hot and super humid. And we were kind of trying to walk places. And if we didn't get it done really early in the morning, it just got to where it was so hot. By the time you got 10 steps from the house, you'd just be soaking. So we went ahead and bought a car, and I'm glad we did. It sort of gives you more freedom. We go to Playa when we want to, go to Cancun when you want to. It's easier going to the grocery store. There's tons of transportation options available here. The Colectivo, we've talked to a lot of people since we've been here that have been a little more reticent about using the Colectivo during the pandemic, just because it can be a lot of people. Yeah. Without social distancing inside of a closed space. But the taxis are so easy here and they're not expensive. So, I certainly think you could get away without having a vehicle. I don't think it's a requirement. It's just, we prefer having one. It's just a little easier for us. But we're old, so.
Yeah, we used taxis before we got the car, and their regulations change from time to time, depending on how many passengers could be in the taxi with the driver. At most it was 3, and then at one point it was 2 passengers. The Colectivo we never used, and I don't even know did they continue throughout the pandemic?
The whole time.
Oh, okay. They did?
Oh yeah, they're running. They're even running now. There's a stop on the corner next to my
I know
house,
they're running now, but they ran in the pandemic when in the shutdown?
Well, in only the first month or so, I think we might look back, but I don't remember when they weren't running. They've been running most of the time. And sometimes you'll only see like 2 or 3 people in them. And they're all wearing masks and stuff like that. But
they are full now.
I'm still seeing them pretty light over here.
We
anyway.
see them on this side of town, like packed. Yeah.
And I'm from Flint, Michigan originally, so I had to have a car like right away. A car is like so very normal. We got to have cars. So we drove a car down here, but then when we got our permanent residency, then you can no longer drive a U.S. plated vehicle. So we took that one back to the United States, and we bought a car in Mexico.
Oh. Right. So Keith, where are you guys? Are you in Colonia?
Yeah, we're in Colonia now. We're in a rental. We've been in a rental house since we got here. We house hunted with Kim pretty much right after we got here last July and found a place, closed on it, and now it's being renovated or remodeled. It's supposed to be ready next month. So we're looking forward to moving into our house. We're in Villas Uno right now in a rental house. We'll be in Villas Dos where we bought next month.
And apparently you can have, I know that we don't want to be Isla Mujeres, but you can have golf carts, and at least what we learned in our last visit at Easter, if the golf cart's electric, you don't actually have to be a resident. You only have to be a resident if it's gas powered.
And actually you can't do gas powered here. They won't let you register it. They're only allowed on Isla and Cozumel. So yeah, so it's better to have the electric one. So
But even if you're not a resident at this point.
yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I didn't have a car 1 year here and it was fine, but that doesn't work with a real estate. So I had to get the car. But there are many, I mean, there's people who've lived here for years and years and never had a car and they're happy relying on the public transportation. And then other people are just more comfortable having their own transportation so they don't have to rely on somebody else. I think it's just personal preference, but you know, most people are fine leaving that. If you need to leave your car, if you're not going to be here year round, you usually will have a property manager. And so what you would do is arrange with them to start the car, you know, every few weeks or so it's not just sitting there, not being run for months and months at a time. And insurance is very inexpensive here, car insurance. So it's kind of a mixed bag, Jorge. People do everything.
Thank you.
I'm kind of curious. Ange and I plan on living 6 months at our cottage in Canada in the summer, and then 6 months in the winter in Mexico. Are there a lot of people doing that sort of stuff? And yeah,
A lot. Yep. Snowbirds, we call you.
yeah,
Exactly.
I just didn't know Puerto Morelos had a big expat group that does that sort of thing too, or not.
Yep.
Casita Blanca, and what's the other one right here next to me? The big apartment thingy.
Ocean.
Orange. I can't think of it. No. The Casita Blanca though, and then there's another apartment. I can't even think of the name of it, but they are empty in the summer, some rentals, but then they are full, just like you guys.
Right.
Full for 6 months through the winter. Yeah, I'll think of it after this.
Our population, it's Las Iguanas. But our population, I mean, at least triples in high season. And many of those are just snowbirds. They arrive in October, November and stay through April. Everyone's pretty much out of here by the end of April, typically. There's a ton of people leaving this week, strangely.
Bye.
Right, like tomorrow. If you're from Minnesota, you're going home tomorrow, apparently. I've like talked to 7 people leaving.
That's my dream.
Yeah. It's funny how everyone's going at the same time. And they all arrive around the same time, right around Halloween, which is typically pretty fun here. And the weather's fantastic usually. So.
Right.
Oh yeah, great.
Anything else, guys? Like that was my list.
Kim, there's a
Thank
question.
you, Jorge. I'm gonna add pets for the next time.
Kim, there's a question in the comments about, do you need a birth certificate to buy property?
Not usually. Passport is fine. I think she's gone. Oh, no, she's here.
No, I'm here. Thank you. What's the average closing time if you're buying?
Well, that used to be around 30 to 45 days. With COVID backups this year, it's, God only knows, it's about 4 months, 3 to 4 months.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's
8
not
months.
Normal. That's not normal. Wait, what? Well, yeah, they're doing delayed closing, yeah. Yeah, so in normal times we can do it fairly quickly, but right now it's taking a real long time.
Okay.
You can ask for a delayed closing if you need a little more time to get things together. A lot of people do that in their offer.
Well, faster sounds better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, a lot of frustrated people this year wishing that it would faster. That's it for me, you guys. Thanks so much. If you have more questions, please feel free to email me. I think I'm not sure if we'll do this next week. But I'm gonna do a session on, if you purchase property, what do you do? What do you need to do? What do you need to set up when you move in? So that this focused on what do you need to do at home, then we're gonna focus on what do you need to do here in Mexico. Have a new property or you rented a new place. So hopefully that'll be helpful.
Sounds good.
Anything else? We're good? Okay.
Thank you.
Good night, you guys.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye, Maria. Baby right now.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks for joining us, you guys.
Thank you. Bye. Bye. Good night.
Oh, I love the dog picture. That's so cute.
That happened just the right time, didn't it?